Hi everyone, welcome to the Illinois State Museum. My name is Jenn Edginton and I'm the Director of Interpretation here at the museum. The Illinois State Museum is doing a lot to talk about Native peoples and Native histories, and we're really excited to welcome our first Director of Tribal Relations, Heather Miller. Heather, do you want to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Jen. It's my pleasure to be here. Kwe Omatero, Heather Miller Ijatsi, Wandat Ajatute, Unditatsi Equiati. So in English, I just said, hi everyone, my name is Heather Miller. I'm an enrolled citizen of the Wyandotte Nation from Oklahoma, and currently I live here in Illinois.
So Heather, why does the Illinois State Museum need a Director of Tribal Relations?
Well, it's really important for the Illinois State Museum to have a Director of Tribal Relations because if folks have been here, they've probably walked through some of our shows, some of our exhibits, and maybe even some of our collections, and they've seen that we have Native American items here at the museum. Well, with those Native American items that we have, that means that we should also be having relationships with the Native American communities that call those objects theirs. So basically those objects belong to those Native communities, and we as the holders of those objects should be in partnership, should be in communication, should be in relationship with the people those objects belong to. So my job is to help build up those relationships. It's to make sure that those Native communities that own these items, that have a say in how those items are displayed, are making sure that their voices are being heard.
And that's so important.
And it's so important.
So important. When we have the Native American objects, where are they? Are they out on display? Are they in collections? For the most part, where are these objects?
For a long time, the museums and some of our places like Dixon Mounds have actually had those items out on display. If folks go over to Dixon Mounds right now, they might see some changes happening and they may not see some of those items on display. Here at the Illinois State Museum in Springfield, folks may have seen a previous show about Native folks, and now that's closed. Things are changing a little bit. Part of the reason that you can't see those items anymore is because those Native folks that we're working with have asked that those not be on display. That's not respectful. So we want to make sure that we're not putting those on display anymore. Those items that we're talking about right now are housed in collections, but we'd like to make sure that those items get back to their respectable homes, to the places that they should be housed, and to the people that they truly belong to. So even though they're currently in our collections, maybe they were on display at one time, but they're moving, they're changing, and things will maybe not look like they did in the past. And that's okay too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we talked a little bit about the museum, but I want to switch gears. So let's talk about why is it important to teach Native content, Native knowledge, and Native histories in classrooms?
That is such a great question. So I remember back when I was in school, I was sitting there in school at my desk thinking, when am I going to learn about Wyandotte history? I didn't get to learn any of that. No teacher ever taught me about my culture. No one ever taught me about my heritage, and I didn't learn my stories or where I was from when I was in school. I think lots of other Native Americans have experienced that too. Probably you in your own school curriculum didn't learn about the Native people that called the area that you were from home, right? Most people didn't either. That's purposeful. Our education system purely leaves out Native American history because they want to take care. They wanted to remove us. They wanted to remove Natives from the history, from the curriculum in order to wipe us out. They didn't succeed. So why this is important, why we're making these changes, is because we want folks to understand that Native folks have always been here. They've always called this land home. They were always contributed to the stories that shape this our various communities that we live in. So when folks come to the museum, one of the things that we can do is help create a better story. We can fill in the knowledge that's been lacking from the education system. We can help share the stories of the various nations that call Illinois home, continue to call Illinois home, and will continue to call Illinois home.
All right, so we heard about the museum and classrooms, and something you mentioned though in the museum is the Illinois State Museum changing. And we know the Illinois State Museum is changing. So in what ways are we changing, and why is this work so important, especially as we talk about Native peoples?
So oftentimes Native people have been left out of the conversation. Their voices haven't been heard and their opinions have not technically mattered. We want to flip that. That's so important to recognize that Native opinions are important. Our stories are important. They share knowledge about how we all should relate to the land, relate to this place that we all call home. So when we work with our tribal nations, they're going to request things to change a little bit. They're going to want to bring in places where our knowledge as non-tribal citizens may be lacking. And so we're going to include those pieces into our work moving forward. That may mean that items at Dixon that folks may have seen in the past, they're not going to be able to see anymore, because Native folks that we work with have asked that we be respectful to those items. We return those items so that way their original owners can take care of them properly. They can give them the respect that is due to those items that were removed improperly. That's what we want to do. That's why we're making these changes. What's going to come out of here is a better understanding of the 32 plus tribal nations that call Illinois home, and we're going to learn about their stories. We're going to learn about their histories. We're going to learn about all the awesome things that they contributed to help make Illinois as great as we know it today.
Thank you so much, Heather. And thank you for watching. We hope that you follow along on our changes, that you follow along and use our resources and our exhibits to help you teach about Native peoples in your classroom. Thank you.
Une.